If you've ever wondered about meditation and memory palaces as a form of meditation and how to practice meditation and your memory at the same time, well, that's what this video is all about. So tune in and click the like button. Make sure that you're ready with some questions. If you don't catch the live, you can leave them in the discussion below. But there's so many things that are really, really frustrating in life. And one of them is forgetting information, forgetting the detail that you want to remember, right? Especially when you're in the middle of something like telling a joke or you're telling a story to someone and you can't remember what it was that you were trying to say. And it's so many times you've got, hey Jujuan, thanks for being here, by the way, after you hit the like button and all that stuff, please let me know where in the world you are and what time it is where you are, and a little bit about how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're doing, what's on your mind. And we can continue rolling and acknowledging people for showing up, which is always great. But the topic here is really how can we use meditation to help us get better with our memory, and not just memory implied overall, because you can expect that. You got to test it for yourself. But it's 3:20 in Sydney for Dujuan. Great. The thing is that you will get so much benefit. Quasar from Denmark, 7:21 a.m. You're up early. Great. I like that name, Quasar Code. That's awesome. But you can get so much benefit from, being able to just be calm and focused from meditation, because what it ends up doing for you is it strengthens your mind's eye in many ways. And you don't want this pain. Blue Streak, salutations, 121 from NC. So that's North Carolina, NC. When you can't concentrate and 1221 Allen says, in Texas. Oh, wow, Texas. I love Texas. So Quasar says, hi all. If you're not seeing Quasar's note there, I don't know what you guys see, but Quasar says hi. The thing is when you have these lapses in your thinking, in your memory, in your concentration, it's painful, right? It's really, really painful. And you can use meditation, for one thing, just to be much, much better at not feeling that pain, for one thing. So that's kind of cool. But you can also use meditation to practice your memory and to practice your concentration. Because one thing that we need to understand is that so much of memory is concentration. We often think and label memory as pure, raw, remember and recall, right? Which is what it is. But there's also the ability to concentrate on information in the first place, so that you do get that raw recall, so that you are able to get it into short-term memory, which you're going to juggle around, and massage into long-term memory using memory techniques. And concentration is the key to all that. And the more that you use meditation, the more you get control over concentration. And it's actually called attentional control, right? That's the not so sexy word for this. But it's so essential for creating proper and complete and whole memories, really being there, having an attention to detail. And if you have a lack of success with the crucial parts of information that you need, it's often has everything to do with the fact that you weren't paying attention to it in the first place. You weren't there with it. And there's so much information that we need to deal with all the time that it really is useful. For everybody who's showing up, please hit that like button and let me know where you are in the world, because I'd really love to know. And it's fun to interact with you and say hello and how you're doing. But without focus, you're constantly fighting a battle against memory. And thankfully, there are so many scientifically proven ways and methods for improving your concentration that you can get huge benefits from them. And you add them to your practice, and they do two things at once. Three things at least. They make you calmer because of the meditation that's involved, and they help you increase your focus, which is powerful even if you're not directing your focus at memory, and then it just helps your memory. Isn't that great? It's a win-win. Nguyen, I'm not sure how you pronounce that name, but it says hi from California, 10:24 p.m. in California. Okay, not too late in California. What's the weather like there? I haven't been to California for a long time, but what a great place. Anyway, the whole thing on top of that is that there is no lack of evidence that meditation is as powerful as everybody says it is, and people have been using this stuff for thousands of years. Now, there's been, unfortunately, throughout those thousands of years, a lot of dogma, a lot of mysticism, a lot of weirdness associated with all these techniques, but that doesn't mean that you can't tap into all of that and extract all of that. I'm actually reading Gary Weber's book right now, which is Happiness Beyond Thought. Brilliant. He just like cuts it down to, you know, what are these techniques? It's a practical guide to awakening, as it's called, and it's just the other than Sam Harris's stuff, Waking Up rather. It's just a brilliant book, because we don't, or at least a lot of the people who are very, very scientific minded, they are results oriented. They don't need the stories. They don't need the yada yada mysticism. They just want to know what it is to do, how to do it, and then to get the benefit from it. So you don't need like this Buddhist monk stuff and the Eightfold Path to Enlightenment and all that kind of stuff. Doing good, service to others is great. Extensive meditation, if that makes you a better person, that's awesome. But extensive meditation, hour-long meditation, that might not be the thing for you. That might not even be the path that gets you where you want to go. So you want to really, really understand the mechanics of meditation so that you can experiment in a very, very dedicated way, the same way with memory techniques. You want to understand the mechanics, the principles, the actual working procedures, what they do, and how that. I like that I have more likes than people on the call. That's really cool. That's a good ratio. I'm winning. But and if you haven't hit that like yet, hit it now so we can make this an even more out of proportion ratio. But anyway, the point being is that you want to be able to look at this procedurally and have an absolute total sense of control over what it is you're doing and why you're doing it, just in a clinical sense. All of that other stuff, if you like that, the myths, the mysticism, that's great, that's fine, but don't let it cloud the results that you want to get, right? And so that's really cool, because enlightenment really is the ultimate sort of state of mind, as they say. And what it is, you know, by some definitions, is just stillness of mind and inner peace. But is that what we're really after? Or are we after not no mind and no thought, but rather particular kinds of thoughts, and the thoughts that we want to have in the moments that we want to have them? And that's why the memory connection here is so powerful, because that's what we want, right? Is we want to be able to go into the memory palace and think, what was there? So I want to be like, okay, so there was a lung and it was coming down on Jinx. You remember Jinx from G.I. Joe? She was that woman in the red. And then I want to think about this sort of bee, and then G.I. Joe, and you know, I'm like going and reconstructing what I learned in Chinese today, and I want to be able to focus on it. I want to know where it was in the memory palace. I want to know what the first image was, what the second image was, what the third image was, what the fourth image was, which in this case is what I'm referring to, and I just want to be able to think about the tones in this particular Chinese phrase, and I want to remember what it means, and I want to remember what it says, and then I want to be able to say it to my wife later. That is really, really important, and I can't do it without focus and concentration. And because I do the memory techniques after I've meditated, and then I meditate throughout the day, and then I meditate and do the recall practice, recall rehearsal, it's just so powerful. It's so brilliant. And so I want to really, if you don't have a meditation practice, please do this. Dario, hi from Mexico. All right, so glad that you're here. Dario, do you meditate? Let me know. And anybody here, leave a comment if you are a meditator. I'd love to hear a bit about your experience. Now, there's a lot of science behind the biological mechanisms of meditation, and there's so many reaching benefits that anybody can have, but it's just a way of developing concentration. And with everything, there's an easy way and there's a hard way. And science doesn't skip over the hard way. It investigates everything, which is a pretty crazy thing about science, right? And this is what I'm doing every day. You know, I'm trying scientific things to test and explore. How can I memorize all this stuff? How can I get it in my head real fast? And when it doesn't work, go back and ask the right questions. And it's the same thing with meditation. And you want to. Dario says, "I don't, but you're interested." I'm interested. Okay, Dario, it's great that you're interested, and you're gonna have an amazing time because meditation is so powerful, and you just got to be committed, right? So one thing that I highly recommend is that you just read a book or something about it, or not read a book about it, but just do meditation. Sit down and just sit, just to sit as a starter, and put a timer on. Tim Ferriss often says, put the timer on longer, or put the timer on for shorter than you think you could do the meditation. And so that would mean, like, say you think you can do 10 minutes, then set it for 8 or set it for 7 or something like that, right? And you want to look for the link between what you think you can do and do a little bit less. And then what I always do is I added to that this idea of doing a little bit longer. But it just starts as simply as that. Don't try to clear your mind. Don't try to do anything. Just sit, just to sit. And that was a principle that I heard from Alan Watts, who is really cool. Actually, incidentally, I did a little bit of story consulting for Mark Watts, who is Alan Watts' son, on the script of a documentary about Alan Watts back in the day. This is a long time ago now, but that was a really great experience. And I think it worked out nicely because I was really in a period where meditation just really popped for me at that time. I've had lots of experiences with it, lots of adventures, and one of the things that got me into it was very early on was I was very blessed to have just an amazing English teacher in high school, and his name was Mr. Esdale, and he was some kind of guru, dude. Like, he would know when people were chewing gum, and he would take the garbage pail, and he was a curler. I think he was a champion curler also. He certainly competed in curling. Like, we would have substitute teachers when he was away on curling competitions, and he would take that garbage can, and using all his curling abilities, he would slide it across the floor, and it would stop right at the desk of the person chewing gum. Anyway, he was the guy who first introduced me to meditation in this sort of non-mystical sense. So had it in church growing up and all that kind of stuff. But just pure, here's the mechanics of it, here's why you do it, and why it works, and how to do it. And it was just really, really great. And so that was a great early exposure. And very thankful for that. And then, years later, doing a lot of meditation in different ways, and having really what some people call the Buddha smile experiences, or the opening of the third eye, really got interested in the science of it, because it's just like, am I going crazy or what, right? Because sometimes the feeling is so powerful, it just you break into tears or laughter, and spontaneous laughter. And so some people call this the Buddha smile. And be it whatever, he doesn't even need a name. It's just joy. It's like raw joy and happiness, because you're beyond thought. You're just so present, and you're connected to everything. So it's pretty cool. But we're talking about the benefits of all this for concentration and for your memory. And so this has been observed for a very, very long time, this link between concentration and memory and meditation. But researchers, they are very scientific about it, and they want to test, and they want to know, and they get in there. So there's one study that I was really impressed with, and they had at the University of North Carolina, actually, they had 49 students volunteer for one of these meditation studies, and none of the people had any prior experience to meditating, or at least that's what they reported. And they just they assigned them different tasks, different kinds of meditation, and they had activities that they had to perform. And at the end of the week of after the experiments, the meditation group that did the particular sort of thing, Blue Streak, great question. I don't have that data in front of me, but it can be, well, actually I do have it down at the bottom of the page, but I'll send you a link in the description below, and you can read all this science on the Magnetic Memory Method website. Whoa! And if you haven't been to magneticmemorymethod.com and you're interested in that, then definitely check out this data, because it's quite good. But the whole point is that, so there are two different schools. Okay, well, I I haven't been to North Carolina for a long time and never visited this particular university, so I didn't know that they were split up. But I did teach in at Rutgers in New Brunswick in New Jersey, so not bad. Close enough, let's say. But in any case, the Carolinas it's beautiful territory there. In any case, the whole thing is that they had really, really powerful concentration benefits, and they were immediate, like really, really quick. So you don't have to wait a couple of months for meditation to kick in. Within a week, according to this particular study, it was noticed. It was absolutely noticed. And then the question, though, is, okay, so concentration, will it improve your memory? Well, if meditation to concentration, it should be obvious, right? You don't have to make some kind of crazy scientific study. If you're more focused and you're more in the world, you're already going to be paying more attention. So, for example, I'm looking at this material that I have on my website, and I see North Carolina. I remember Blue Streak mentioned North Carolina. Well, why did I notice that? It's because I'm concentrated. I mean, I'm not making some claim that I'm super hyper concentrated more than anybody else, and it may be that someone who doesn't meditate all the time would remember that, but it is this kind of thing where I'm actually actively trying to track everybody who's here and think about where they are in the world, and there's short-term memory, and I'm juggling as much of it as I can as I'm talking. Part of the reason why I wanted to get into these lives was to practice memory live, and not to do stunts or anything like that, but to actually see what's possible, because I gave lectures for many years in film studies at university, but I never had people popping comments and telling me where they are and so forth, and I just thought it was really neat. So Carrie now is from Portland, Oregon, so I'm now going to concentrate on that as well and think about this. So thanks for letting me know, and keep letting me know where you are if you haven't announced already, and what you're thinking, little details, because I am doing a kind of experiment here. But when it comes to the tests, there's many tests, and there's one that had up to 200 teenagers, and they were recruited, and they did this mindfulness meditation practice, and they had certain controls, and there was some formal teaching about meditation and so forth. And what ended up happening, the other group did yoga, not meditation, which some people will argue that yoga is also a kind of meditation. But in any case, the people who did meditation, they did these memory tests, and they did better than the people who did yoga. So this is really cool. And not only that, but the cool thing about all the scientific testing and so forth is that they have a lot of tests that they do for different age groups. Ocelot, 1962. I'm in Saudi Arabia. Well, thanks for being here from Saudi Arabia. I've never been there. I want to very badly, though. I know that memory training is very prized there, and let me know if I can help in any way. But in terms of meditating for pure, raw memory advantage, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but the thing is that focus first on just learning meditation, then focus on what it can do for your concentration, and test that it is doing something for your concentration. You'll notice it. You'll notice it in really profound ways, and it really will happen for you inside of a week. But to meditate specifically for better concentration, Carrie says, curious, what's the time where I'm at? It is 3:38 in Brisbane, Australia, and it's a beautiful day, and I'm having so much fun. I'm fasting today, actually, which means I feel hyper present. And I don't know if anybody fasts, but I like to do at least 24-hour fasts when I do them twice a week. So it's like some people work 5 days a week and they have 2 days holiday. I eat 5 days a week and I have 2 days holiday. But it's really profound. And then of course I meditate every day, and I meditate a little bit more often on fasting days. It's really great, and it's I'm trying to do research too on whether there's an advantage for memory with fasting. So far, it's just n=1 experiment. I haven't found any good real research or testing even on it. But this is the thing, right? And I mentioned n=1. If you don't know what that is, it just is like number equals 1, and it's it's a really powerful thing that's come out. Well, it's always been there, but you can go see a doctor, and a doctor will look at whatever you're talking about and will slot your symptoms into parameters of 18 to 65-year-olds, and so statistically that's probably what you got, right, based on that wide range of people. Whereas n=1 would say, okay, what am I eating, when am I eating it, how am I sleeping, and so forth. And you look real close at what it is you're doing, not what the statistical body that you belong to is doing, because you don't belong to that statistical group. You don't. You can be generalized into it 1,000 ways till Sunday, but it will never tell the story of you, right? And so you need to test for yourself. And likewise with all these meditation studies and concentration, you ultimately, like, if you're motivated by science, that's great. You should be, because evidence is the most important thing in the world. But at the same time, evidence is useless unless you actually test it for yourself, right? And then you find the evidence that's true for you, because without that, then you can't optimize. You can't say, okay, well, so here was what got me into this. Either someone telling me that this would work for me, or I read a bunch of scientific articles about it that it would work for me, or some combination of these things. But now I'm going to actually go and do it. So what is it that you did? When did you do it? What had you eaten before you did it? And so on. And, so much of our memory abilities and sitting for your sessions where you actually use memory techniques is heavily influenced by what you ate that day, right? So if you're sitting and you're frustrated, you can't concentrate, and you're foggy and so forth, the best question to ask, Carrie says, thanks so much for your overall work in helping us out. Carrie, I'm glad to do it, and thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. But keep that in mind. Like I just wrote a piece today, right? And I was feeling a little bit kind of maybe cocky or whatever, but I was thinking, and it's something I've thought before, it's not new, but it's something I apply to myself all the time. It's never the memory techniques that aren't working. It's you. It's you, right? Like, it's where you are in your physical state, your psychological state, what you've eaten, how well that you've rested, and so forth. Techniques don't change, really. It's you that changes. It's us that change. We're biological entities. We're organisms. And so it's very much, I've often used the metaphor of memory techniques as a kind of bicycle, right? Where the bicycle has its universal principles. You can get on it and you can ride because of the shape of the bike, the wheels that spin, the velocity rules, gravity, all that kind of stuff, right? None of that changes for anybody. But the memory techniques do need a little bit of adjustment, because not everybody can just sit on the same bike. Sometimes you got to raise the handlebars. Sometimes you got to raise the seat, lower the seat, whatever the case may be. So there is some personalization and adaptation to memory techniques. There's no two ways about it. But at the same time, it is just universal principles. And likewise with all the with another metaphor, if the bike thing doesn't work for you, is that memory techniques are a lot like a skipping rope, right? The skipping rope never comes up in the air and flies and goes in circles. You'll hear this on an upcoming episode of the Magnetic Memory Method podcast, because I just scripted it today. But it's a powerful way of thinking about this. It doesn't just fly up in the air and go in circles. No, a human comes and takes the skipping rope and passes it around their body. And then, as they're doing that, they have all kinds of benefits. Muscles, lungs, heart rate, and all that sort of stuff is amazing. Same thing with memory techniques. The memory techniques never do anything. You do the memory techniques. And how well you do them is always conditioned by the state that you're in. And so meditation is a great way to begin, because it clears your mind, brings you focus, and the more you are a focused person, the more you bring yourself to the game, and you bring that focus and concentration to the game. And arguably, the more you meditate, the more clear you are about the decisions that you make, so that you're not eating junk food all the time that's poisoning your brain and making it hard to concentrate. And you are more aware of, like, maybe making a decision, like getting a special bottle of water, the soul bottle I have. There's a reason why it says soul on there, not because I'm a spiritual person or a mystic or anything like that, but it just reminds me that the soul of memory is hydration. Your brain shrinks when you haven't had enough to drink. So you got to keep hydrated, right? So that's a little mnemonic. It's a location-based mnemonic. It's always there, nearby. I carry this around with me everywhere. I remember my trainer in Berlin, Lars. Shout out to Lars. He taught me so much, but one day he's like, "Are you carrying that around everywhere to train your grip or what?" No, it's just because it reminds me to keep my brain hydrated, right? Because when your brain shrinks, if it dries up and you can't concentrate as well, you can't use it as well, you're not as focused, you're not able to use the memory techniques. And remember, you always want to be in a state of ability. You always want to be in a state of readiness. You always want to be able to, as they say, the samurai ought to do. 2P Matey says, "Hi Anthony." "Hello 2P Matey, where are you in the world?" As the samurai sort of thing goes, the path of the samurai is to be able to execute one last move, even with your head cut off. And I mean, that sounds dramatic, but it's kind of a philosophy of life. From India, 2P Matty says, "Great, whereabouts in India?" Anyway, it's a great philosophy of life, I think, is to always be prepared, to be focused, to be there, and to be able to execute even if your head gets cut off. And what that means, metaphorically, in case it's not clear, the riddle and the puzzle, is it means essentially that bad things happen in life. Things go wrong, and you're not always prepared. But you want to live your life in such a way that you are prepared for when bad things go wrong, so that you have a means of doing something, right? Meditation is great for that, and having memory techniques is great for that. And you probably have already heard my story with the girl in the rain. Oh, Vijay Wada. I don't know if I said that right, but I want to visit there one day. Let's make it happen. So how are we going to meditate? How are we going to get ourselves into that state so that we're concentrated, we're focused sufficiently enough that we can actually get to a point of having that samurai-like ability to constantly, just respond to the situation and use our memory the way that we need it? Well, one way is, okay, 2P Maddie says, "Welcome anytime, Anthony." Okay, well, let's we'll see each other then, I guess, in the near future. I want to go to India, and I actually do know some people there who are actively casting around for an opportunity to bring the magnetic memory method live to India, which I think would be awesome. I mean, we've done China, why not India? That would be fun. Anyway, let's talk about this. I think it's pretty clear how to meditate. You sit and you just there's many different ways to do it, but I think the best way is just find a quiet spot, empty of distractions, and set a timer for the amount of time. Not that you want to meditate, but a little bit less than you think that you can. And I think that that's a very, very powerful way of doing things. And then you start with maybe 5 minutes, or they say that you think you can do 5 minutes, so you set it for 4 minutes, and then just sit there. That's it. Sit on the chair, sit on the floor, sit in a way that's comfortable. Some people say your hips should be above your knees, which is not bad advice. But before you invest in any kind of fancy chairs or anything like that, just do it that way. And then close your eyes, close your mind too a little bit, but focus on your breath and feel your breath. And so there's a way of breathing from the abdomen up or breathing down to your abdomen. And I always like to breathe deeply into the abdomen and then fill up from there and then go down. I also do something called pendulum breathing. It's in all my books. You probably read about it. And Alan says, "Hi there, Alan. Alan Melbourne here. Just got home and see you're streaming. Great. Well, glad that you're here. Thanks that you're here. Really appreciate it." Does that make sense, though? Like the difference between breathing from your chest down to your abdomen or breathing directly deep into your diaphragm and then allowing the rest up. You just got to practice it. It's kind of weird. You can alternate. And then pendulum breathing is a particular exercise. We won't get into it here. It's described in detail in books and video courses that I've done. And, just do this. Now, a lot of people, they're going to ask, what about an app? I want an app for meditating. Go ahead. I mean, there's Headspace, there's Breathe, there's Focus at Will. I've tried a lot of them. A lot of them have been in touch with me and asked me if I would try them to promote on the podcast and so forth. And normally I just say, look, do you want digital amnesia or do you want to have control over your mind? The more that you are tying your behaviors to apps, to your device, the more you're weakening yourself in many, many ways. So meditation has been done for thousands of years, unassisted by apps. So why not learn how to do that? And Still Point is probably the only one that I would recommend, and I do not believe that they have updated it. That's why I actually have. I mean, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but Rob Bell says training wheels. Exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with training wheels if you need them to get to riding a bike, but most of us are adults and we can just sit, in quiet time. But I actually have a second cell phone, and the reason I've never updated this, there's lots of reasons, but one of which is that there is one app in particular that there's a lot of apps on here that in particular they never have updated, and one of them is called Still Point. You can see it there, and I'm pretty sure that it never updated. 2P Maddie says 1 minute meditation is good for starters. Tried it. It is only 1 minute at any given time. Flyer Cow says, "Hey, I just bought your book on Russian vocabulary 2 days ago, and unfortunately I don't have 33 palaces for the alphabet. Any advice? Thanks to this, I'm new, so it's hard to find." Search magneticmemorymethod.com, how to find memory palaces. Then make sure you're registered for the course, the free one on the site, and you will get worksheets that will help you create the worksheets. And basically the answer is that you find them and just start with one to begin with if you don't have them all, but work progressively towards having as many memory palaces as you need and fill in the blanks. Because the huge advantage here, I know it sounds stubborn and so forth, but the people who get the best results, they push through and they find those memory palaces, even if it means going out and buying coffee from a new cafe, or revisiting an old friend you haven't seen forever, or making new friends and going for dinner, or whatever it takes to get those memory palaces, because you want them in play. And that's how you get the best results the fastest. And but there's lots and lots of resources on magneticmemorymethod.com. How to find memory palaces is a full audio from the podcast, and you're gonna get great results if you just keep plugging at making more. But don't let that stop. Rob Bell says uses SketchUp. What do you use SketchUp for, Rob? Is it a meditation app, or is it a memory palace creation app? I shouldn't say construction. Everybody says, oh, that sounds like hard work. Well, I believe humans actually do need to work. We have an itching desire to work, and that's the whole speech I was going to get on with apps, right? So I have a lot of apps on here because of research and so forth, but we don't want to get tied to it. It's digital amnesia. Rob Bell says for memory palaces. Okay, well, it sounds fascinating. I'll have to look it up. I have a memory palace app here. It's called Mind Palace. You can see the graphic. It's this one here. I don't know how to make it I don't know how to make it focused for you, but and I applaud the work for it and so forth. But it's not. Flyer Cow says, "All right, thank you, great, thank you for asking. It's amazing. I'm so glad you're here." But the whole thing is that, like, I looked at the app and so forth. People ask me about making apps all the time, and really, guys, is that the path to mastery? No, as was just mentioned, it's training wheels. The memory palace is so extraordinary because you do it without assistance. You do it organically. And really, same thing with meditation. Your goal is not to be unable to build your focus and concentration without the assistance of a machine. Your goal is to build your own focus and concentration because you have decided that you're going to do it. And then you do it. And that's so powerful. It's so amazing. But at the same time, I don't rule out doing it, and I have experimented with it here and there. And there's the odd time that I go to Still Point when my brain just gets too busy. But you know why my brain sometimes gets too busy? It's usually because I've taken a lapse in meditation, and I've eaten something that I shouldn't have eaten, and not rested properly. So you want to build the machine that builds itself, and that's called discipline. And it's a beautiful little thing that you can do that will just keep you out of trouble. And, I was writing about this on my other blog, and, how to get back on track, even when the storms have totally destroyed everything. And this is a huge part of it. So enough reflection about all these sorts of things. It's time for action. And if you want to increase your memory, if you want to improve your memory, if you want to improve your focus and your concentration, meditation is a powerful, powerful tool for doing that. It will improve your cognition. It will improve your ability to juggle multiple bits of information at the same time, which is your working memory, right? And what are we doing with memory techniques anyway? what we're doing is we're taking our working memory and we are then accessing spatial memory. We're accessing episodic memory, a little bit of semantic memory, and we're sort of smushing this all up together in the present moment. And you have to be in the present moment in order for any of that to work, which is why I'm giving this speech here on meditation. And it could seem like an impractical use of your time. Oh, I'm sitting here doing nothing. Shouldn't I be doing something? Well, that's a great question to ask when you're meditating. But think in your meditation, and I love to think about memory while I'm meditating. And a powerful, powerful question when you're in meditation and you're remembering, you can say, what is it that is remembering this? What is it that is remembering this? So when I think of this Chinese that I was working on today, I think of the lung. Rob Bell says thinking in meditation. Absolutely, Rob. I think that people teaching meditation and this no mind concept are deeply misleading. They are unethical in some senses, and it's just a fantasy that no one should try to achieve. Rocks have no mind. You want to be a rock? Go sit and be a rock. This is not what meditation is. It's the quality of the thought that you're having. It's the kind of thought that you're having. And it is, as Gary Weber's book that I'm reading now is called Happiness Beyond Thought, right? But that's not what he's talking about. He's actually talking about the quality of thought. And it's maybe a discussion for another time, but I don't think for a second that the goal of meditation should be no mind or not thinking. It's rather, what is the quality of the thinking that is happening and how much control do you have over it, or how present are you to it when it's taking place, and what questions are you asking of it when it's there. And if you're using a memory palace while you're meditating, all the better. And then just ask that question. What is it that's remembering this? Flower Crow says being a rock sounds peaceful. Well, I imagine that it probably is. And I don't mean to speak down to that goal of no mind if people have that. I just don't really see the purpose or the point. We're humans. We're here to help. We're here to serve. We're here to make things happen for each other. We're here to make things happen for ourselves. We're here to experience. And one of the greatest experiences that you can have is presence. And presence comes with the price of someone observing that presence. And that person observing the presence is you. And isn't that great? It's the most amazing thing. And just imagine if you found a way to link that to the ability to remember what it is that you want. So what I was saying is, when I sit in my meditation tonight and I'm reviewing some of the Chinese and I'm thinking about the lung on Jinx and the bee and the G.I. Joe that's in there and D. Snyder is burning yen. He's all part of this, and I'm going to be thinking about the meaning and the sound, and I'm going to have practice with April, some of this and some of the other things that I was working on. And and there's like one with Minnie Mouse and a baby, and there's G.I. Joe in that one as well, and G.I. Joe shows up a lot because of the jiao sound in Chinese. But I'm going to be thinking about all this stuff, and I'm going to ask one question in my meditation, and that question is going to be, what is it that's remembering this? And I want you to ask that, because that's going to make all the difference in the world. While you're meditating and while you're using the memory techniques, the more focused you are, the more present you are to the memory techniques that you're using, all the better. And ask, what is it that is doing all this remembering? That'll be a very, very powerful and transformative question indeed. So guys, thanks for showing up. Thanks for hitting all those like buttons. And thank you if you come back to this video or another video on my channel to say hello. I remember somebody earlier this week, they said they seen me on YouTube and they only were subscribed to me here on YouTube. They had no idea that there was anything to do on magneticmemorymethod.com. Phil says, hi, great work. Thank you, Phil. Thanks for letting me know. I really appreciate that. Rob says, thanks. If you don't know what's going on magneticmemorymethod.com, I would really be delighted if you'd head over there, and there's a contact form there. There's a course to sign up to, and it just blew me away. Maybe I don't pitch my site enough. I think I try to limit saying magneticmemorymethod.com as much as I can, especially on the podcast. But some people don't even know that there's a podcast. There's 160 episodes out there, guys. And if you don't know about it, you might want to get that stuff in your pocket, because it's more material like this. Flower Crow Cow says, after that question, do you allow the answer to come in the form of images? while I'm not a person who allows or disallows, just see what happens for you. But what happens to me is more of a feeling, and it's a very powerful feeling, and it's a feeling that massages the information even deeper. It makes it easier to remember and easier to use, because I'm very focused on language learning and memory techniques, the mnemonics of language learning, what can be done, how fast it can be done, with what accuracy, how we can overcome the resistance. And that's another thing that meditation is so good for. It lets you get out of your own way, because so many people, they always say, I'm not creative, I'm not visual, I'm not this, I'm not that. And that breaks my heart, because you don't even need to be visual to use memory techniques. I'm not particularly visual, but everybody has these endless excuses why it won't work, and so it gets out of your way. But the thing that happens is that you feel. When you ask that question, what is it that's doing this remembering? When you ask that, you feel it. And that feeling is so powerful, and you massage it in there. And then you overcome your objections, because even to this day, I have objections. I have the thing, this, that, and the other thing. And I use meditation to overcome those objections and to get the magic, to get the most amazing thing out of memory that I can. And what is that most amazing thing? It's the ability to remember stuff, to call it back, to be able to speak Chinese at the moment, and to understand what I'm hearing, and to speak it. And really, part of the game, and it's a great part of the game, is just to impress the pants off my wife, because she's just blown away. So Quasar asks, the course MMM is great, by the way. Thanks for sharing this time with us. Have a great day, everyone. Well, thank you for letting people know that you like the Magnetic Memory Method course. I really appreciate that. And again, it blows my mind that some people don't even know I have a website. It's magneticmemorymethod.com. There are loads of podcasts. Just scroll through and see what you like and download them. Make your own little audiobook. Just a quick tip for you. I love an audiobook. I was like saying, as if I don't ever use apps. Of course I use apps, but I've got this one in particular called Audiobook Builder. It's for Mac. Lets you just zip all things together, make your own little audiobooks. And may not even be necessary anymore on updated phones, but I needed it at the time, and I still use it out of habit, and it's so powerful. But magneticmemorymethod.com, it has so much stuff, and videos and audios, and like I said, I was talking to somebody who was in touch with me, and they through YouTube, and they just seemed to be completely unaware of this whole world over at magneticmemorymethod.com. And so for those of you who mentioned grabbing one of my books, thank you for your support. So those of you who have one of the Magnetic Memory Method video courses, thank you also. I really appreciate it. And let me know. Get in touch. Let me feel what it is that you would like to hear about, and let me know how you do with meditation. I think that meditation is one of the most powerful decisions that you'll ever make, and it will improve your life in ways that you can't even imagine. And understand that when you get into it, 4 times a week minimum, that we know from the scientific studies is what you'll need. But go for every day, at least once a day, and don't overdo it. Don't build a mountain that you got to climb all the time. Just keep it small and build from there. You're gonna love it, and I really recommend this Gary Weber book that I'm reading right now, and it's called Happiness Beyond Thought, and it's really, really good, because it just breaks boom, 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 everything to it's just basics, so you don't have to read a whole bunch of woo-woo stuff, and I really like that. I appreciate that, and I just really, really don't want to turn this work that I do into meditation work, but a whole bunch of my success with memory techniques, deeply penetrating what's really going on, has been because I meditate, and that has helped me find the presence of mind, to be present to the information. I'm a very fidgety person. I'm very full of energy all the time, and it's a discipline that enables me to concentrate and focus and to be in the present moment enough to actually use them. And it's just, they used to say I had behavioral issues as a kid and yada, 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 and like, if the cure was just to focus on a better diet and sitting on the floor for 10 minutes every morning, they could have fixed, who knows, probably have the Nobel Prize by now. But in any case, the point being is, if you're not meditating, don't let another day go by without getting into this stuff, because it's so unbelievably amazing. All top performers, or at least this is what Tim Ferriss always says on his podcast, all the top performers he knows meditates. And I've been meditating for many years before I heard him say that, before the Tim Ferriss podcast was even a thing in the world. And when I heard him say that, I was like, damn straight. Now, we all know that there's a lot of people who are not top performers who also meditate. So we don't want to make a logistical fallacy there that somehow meditation is a promise that you're going to become a top performer. But the beauty of it all is that you'll become more you. And that is the most important thing of all. And you can't even reach the top of you if you're not you as fully as you possibly can be. So get hold of meditation, get hold of your memory, which is also you being you at the top of form, and get excited. If you're not excited now, nothing will excite you more than being calm, cool, collected, focused, having powers of concentration you don't even know exist, and the ability to recall information at will, like that. So, this has been Anthony Metivier from magneticmemorymethod.com. Thanks for being here live on the call. And if you're watching this after the call, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Hit that little bell button if you want to be notified when this show goes live. Visit me at magneticmemorymethod.com. And until we speak again, keep magnetic. Bye-bye.